Hey guys, a little bit different thing today. You know, I get asked all the time, how in the heck did you get into the nut business, pecans? You know, I mean, it is kind of funny. You know, it's not like I had family members that were in pecans or I knew anything about pecans, you know, 10 years ago when I started this whole deal. So we're gonna walk in here into this is where it all goes out, all the shipping stuff. So candy pecans come back here, the fresh pecans come back here, and it all gets shipped out right in here. And nothing fancy. I mean, this is not anything fancy. We're gonna expand this someday. And got a piece of property there on the 4-lane. We're gonna build a nice pecan shop, you know, retail center. This is just shipping, you know, the post office right across the street, so it makes it really handy for my wife. But she's in there. Oh, she's got no, it's unlocked. It's locked. This is my wife. She's been working hard. Hello?
Hello, hello.
Hey, babe.
Come on in.
This is it. This is my wife Tuesday for everybody. I think everybody's met her at one point or another, but we're gonna tell you the story of how we got in the pecan business right here. So how does a bass fisherman get into pecans? You know, it's kind of a funny story, you should say. My dad, he always kind of suggested, man, you ought to think about pecan orchards because, you know, parents know you best, and my dad especially, and he knows my passion for the outdoors. He knows my passion for hunting. He knows, you know, obviously fishing. Pecans, you know, they kind of coincide with bass fishing. You know, we fish from February to August, September a lot of times, and you know, one of the busiest times in the pecan business is, you know, October, November, December. You know, the trees do all their business, they grow all year long, and yes, there's lots of work that needs to happen with that. So it's kind of always in the back of my mind. This dad mentioned it probably 2-3 times, and you know, I'm up at the Pumpin' Pete's here in Oologah, and I see this flyer, and it's pecan orchard auction. And it just really kind of caught my eye. It was like a 160-acre orchard, really neat, had a lot of deer on it. Went and looked at it, and I started doing a lot of research on it, and started talking to a lot of older pecan farmers, and I was like, man, you could make some decent money doing this. There's lots of hunting involved. There's usually water involved for duck hunting. And you know, I thought it'd be really cool to pass it on to my son and my daughter. You know, I grew up working with my dad every weekend. You know, looking back, it was kind of, what in the heck, you know, we're working again this weekend, Dad, what about fun? But, you know, it was great work ethic that he instilled in me, and very thankful for it and all that time I got to spend with him. And, you know, I got to thinking I need something to do with Cade. I don't always want to fish every day of the week, you know, and something to teach him a little bit of work ethic and to pass on down to him and Kylie. And so, you know, I look at this auction and I'm like, man, this looks really cool. I talked to the bank and got pre-approved for a loan for a certain amount, and I figured, you know, I could make it pay for itself, you know, as up and running orchard. I got there, I lost. Another guy bought the orchard. I mean, he never put his hand down. I mean, he blew past my number and kept going. And but it piqued an interest in me. So I fast forward, I start knocking on these doors. All these pecan farmers are all, you know, a lot of older people, 70, 80, 88 years old, one of the oldest ones I talked to. And it was just awesome because they would invite you right into their home. They'd invite you into their orchard. I'd spend days with them and I'd learn all about their orchards. And one of the particular orchards that I went to, it was like, man, this is an awesome orchard. I mean, he taught me everything about it, how much money he was making, how he managed them. He basically had all his trees named. And, you know, at the end of the few days that I spent with him, I said, you know, if you ever end up wanting to sell it, I'd be really interested in buying it. And, you know, he said, you know, I've been thinking about selling it. And, but I told somebody else if I ever sold it, I'd give him first dibs. I was like, well, okay, you know, surely he probably don't want it. Well, sure enough, he did. But, you know, I already saw how much money he'd been bringing in. He taught me all about everything about it. And I said, well, I'll offer you 200 more an acre. And then the doctor said, I'll offer you 200 more an acre. I said, I'll offer you 200 more an acre. And we went back and forth, you know, and we increased the value of this land over a week's time, you know, and the gentleman's property went up in value between me and this doctor. And I'm like, it's still a good deal. And the gentleman said, you guys stop, let's go flip a quarter. So we met down at the pecan shop in Collinsville, and we had to flip a quarter. And I remember it like it was yesterday. I called heads. You always call heads. and it was tails, and I lost, and I was so depressed. This place had deer running out of it every time you drive into it. Had just neat place, really up and running orchard, been well established, well taken care of, and I lost. I was so depressed for weeks on end, just super depressed. But the silver lining in all this, you know, and one of the very first places that I looked at, it was a smaller orchard. It only had 400 trees on it, but it was 160 acres total, with another 40 acres across the road that was a potential to buy. And it just had a huge upside, plus it had a river to irrigate. And, you know, water really makes things grow. And, you know, I went back and I visited the Lester place and went to visiting with him, and it wasn't for sale yet. And I asked him if he'd want to buy it, you know, and looking back, it was the best decision ever, because through all this, I have an orchard now that's all paper shells, that's all irrigated, that, you know, it's just phenomenal. It's just, you know, I got to plant all those trees. I got to graft all those trees. You guys got to learn all about that grafting. It's where you take a stick of pecan wood that's been in the refrigerator all winter, and you go and peel the bark of an existing tree, and you stick it behind the bark, and now the native tree grows up through the graft wood to make a paper shell tree, which is just awesome. It was developed back in the 1880s. Really cool. And I've been getting to do all this with my son and my wife, and she was a big part of it. And so now we've got 2,700 trees, all planted in rows, all irrigated, you know, right next to the Caney River. It's just awesome. I mean, it's just awesome. You know, we've got basically 1,200 trees in production, and each year we're going to have more trees come into production. And it's just it was a blessing in disguise that I lost that quarter flip, that quarter landed on tails, because this orchard that I've got now is going to be just way better than any of them could have been, just for the pure fact of water and so many good paper shell nuts. I got 3 different varieties there, Pawnee, Kansan, Lakota. The deer hunting's awesome. The duck hunting's really good. Got a really cool duck slough on it. I got some turkeys out there. It's a lot of fun. Me and Kate have a lot of fun out there. I put a shooting range in out there, and it's just a neat orchard that I'm super passionate about. Yeah, I don't know. At the time, I was so discouraged about the coin flip, but now looking back, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. And that's how I got into pecan orchard. It all started with an auction that I lost, and then a quarter flip that I lost. You know, in the meantime, between all that I'm leaving out, me and my wife attended Oklahoma State University, you know, pecan school. Like, they had a class every month. All year long, we'd go to that. I went to that multiple years. Went to multiple, like, 3-day courses that, you know, for people wanting to start a pecan orchard. You just go pay your $200 and you can go learn all you want to learn about pecans. And then I met Mike Smith, and like, Mike Smith has forgot more about pecans than the whole state of Oklahoma will ever know. I mean, he's amazing when it comes to pecans. That's what I'm amazed about this pecan group of people. They just they just welcome you in, give you a big hug, and they just pour their hearts out to you, their knowledge out to you, and they pass it down, and it's just really cool. Met Mike Spradling, another huge pecan grower, and he's been super helpful. There's just, the list goes on and all the guys that have helped me to get to where I'm at. And, you know, I still to this day call them all the time to ask for guidance and wisdom. And Basil Savage is another one. He's like the big guru of pecans too. He's a really good guy, and has got awesome bass fishing down there. Did a really cool Optima Batteries Healing Hero event down at his place. He's got all these private lakes. Different story. I'm getting off on a tangent, but that's how I got into the pecans. And you know, my wife's been pretty awesome about it. She may want to pull my hair out every now and then, especially on these days that orders go through the roof. But, you know, we have plans to expand. We bought a piece of property on the highway between here and Tulsa, and we're going to put a really cool pecan shop in there, and you'll be able to come by and check it out. We'll have we'll put the Red Crest trophy in there, and the classic trophy in there for people to come by and take pictures. So it's going to be really cool when we get that done. Hopefully about a year from now is when the projected date on that is. But that's how I got into the pecan business. We do all kinds of stuff. We got tins and, you know, fresh pecans, candied pecans. These by far Oh my goodness! If I open that bag, I will eat them. The chocolate toffee, the dark chocolate. I mean, we got, I don't know, 13 flavors, and 10 flavors. She's cut me down to 10, but jalapeno is one of my favorites. If you want to stay a little healthy, I try to mix those jalapenos. But one of the coolest things about that class that we went to at Oklahoma State, you know, we got to visit different pecan orchards every month. You know, we'd visit an orchard that was shaking their trees in July. You pre-shake your trees in July because you don't want the tree to get too many nuts on it, because then each nut won't fill out. So you got to take half the load off. You know, we got to go visit Dick Hoffman's place, just a super cool place. Then the next month, you know, might go visit a place that's harvesting, or visit a place that's, you know, trying to keep the weevil population down, or spraying, or how the cleaning process and the shelling process. We got to visit a lot of cool farms, and not only that, these pecan farmers, they would just, I promise you, I was amazed. You would knock on their door, and they're like, I would say, my statement out of my mouth was, my name's Edwin Evers. They didn't know that I bass fished even a little bit, you know. They didn't have a clue, and I said, man, I'm wanting to learn about pecans. I'm looking at a couple different pecan orchards. I see that you have one behind your house. And they would say, well, come in, we'll tell you all about it. And they'd been doing it for 50 years. I mean, it was the absolute best teacher ever. It'd be like going and getting in Gary Klein's boat or Mark Davis's boat, you know, and spending 6 hours with them. So that was a really, really cool thing of it. Just how they just, you know, just welcome you with open arms. It was really, really cool. I learned a ton, and I still got a ton to learn. You know, you know how experience is. You can't learn it all in a week, a year, or a month. You know, it takes years and years to get experience. So it's just one of those things I really, really, really enjoy, to see these trees just get bigger and bigger and bigger and grow and mature, and you know, planting a crop. There's something special about planting a crop and seeing it go through the season. So it's really cool. And then you fast forward this whole pecan business a little bit, and man, the bus is starting to roll. Things are going good. And my tournaments are going good, you know, winning the Classic and winning Red Crest and winning all these tournaments. The demand for my time and for the sponsors and for fishing has just gone through the roof. But the pecans, they need my attention too, and it's kind of funny. It goes back to another auction, this story here. I go over to this auction over by Fort Gibson Lake, and it's a nursery that's going out of business, and I wanted to get an irrigation pump. And I'm over there, and I buy this most awesome irrigation, the pump, the motor. I bought the whole dock, like 120 feet of 8-inch pipe and 6-inch pipe. I got it all for $200, and it was like going to cost me $20,000. It was like the best thing ever at this auction. And then the way even better thing at this auction, I met Jose, and Jose is from Tahlequah. Just a great, great citizen of the United States that just, it's a neat story. He's like, I said, man, I need help at this pecan orchard. Do you know anybody that needs help? And his dad just got laid off. And so he brought his dad out to my farm, and his dad didn't speak any English, and I had a barrier with that. And Jose's like, well, man, I'll just work for you the next couple months. They lay me off every, November, December. And I got to go back to work in January, but I'll help you for the next couple months. And I was putting in water lines, and man, I needed help. Like, I needed big time help. Well, at the end of 2 months, Jose's like, I'll just work for you. And I was like, hallelujah, thank you, Lord. I mean, it was like the biggest blessing in the world, because Jose is just such an awesome individual. And he's just a big part of it now. And Jose was like me. He didn't know anything about pecans. And since then, he's gone to pecan class down in Texas A&M. He goes to the Oklahoma State class. He probably knows way more about pecans than I do now. He's been with me for three years now, I'd guess. And he loves it, you know, just something different every day. And heck, he drives my trucking boat. Some of you guys may have met Jose. He drove my trucking boat, you know, Florida, New York, and just when I have sponsor obligations, you know, and I can't make the drive and the deadlines that I need to have, you know, I ask Jose if he wants to drive. He's like, heck yeah, he likes to drive, you know, just something different for him. And it's kind of funny. Jose's like, yeah, I signed 3 autographs today. And he didn't tell him no different. He just smiled and signed the autograph card to Edwin Evers. And it's just kind of funny. But He's been just a huge blessing in disguise, and him and his family now have moved to Lala, and I don't know what I'd do without him, but pretty neat having him and pretty neat meeting him, and he's turned in to be one of my better friends ever. So we did a little video, on the tornado at the house. And let me tell you guys, it was a pretty bad 10-day stretch, because 10 days after that tornado, we had record floods, record floods. I got some pictures here I'll share with you guys, and this was before the water even came up all the way. It came up another 3 feet and ruined some of my equipment out there. But the worst part about it was, I've planted 1,500 trees in the last 2 years, me and Jose, and it's a lot of work to plant these trees, and they're $25 a piece, and you lose a year's growth. Well, that water got above those trees, and anytime the water gets above the tree, the leaves are under the water for any extended time, it kills those trees, and it was bad. It was so bad. It flooded so bad, and I didn't think it was supposed to flood. I mean, everything on all the websites said the river had crested, it wasn't coming up anymore, and I was gonna be fine, and it flooded bad. Luckily my big trees were fine. It got 7 feet deep in the orchard, but my big trees are way taller than that, but all my baby trees, I lost a big portion of them, and we still hadn't recovered from that. We'll still be planting a bunch of them this winter. You guys will see it on social media when we're back out there planting. But yeah, that was kind of a bad 10-day stretch in the state of Oklahoma with the tornadoes and then the flood. It was a massive flood, and it got my trees, big deal. It got at people's houses, and that's the sad thing about it, because a flood is just as bad as a tornado, if not worse, just because it does just as worse of damage. But we're all good now. It's all dried out, and we just got to plant a bunch more trees. So one really cool thing about this area that I live in, it's called green country. It's called green country for a reason. That's northeast Oklahoma. It's just the amount of rainfall this portion of the state gets. It's really special. And when I was doing all this research on all these different pecans and the regions of pecans, everybody said that there's something special about this region's pecans. That it's just something in the soil, the amount of rainfall, when the rainfall happens, getting those July and August rains really has a big part of it. And on top of that, we irrigate our nuts. So, everybody says that green country pecans have a special taste to them. So, we're definitely right in the middle of green country, and something that we're really proud of. On another note, when we run out of fresh pecans, we'll be out. Generally we run out sometime right around the 1st of January. There's times that we may have more later in the season. But then the candied nuts, we get these all year long. We ship them down there, they ship them back, they're candied, and really good nuts. So these candied nuts they're in my boat in every tournament. I'll have those jalapenos or those cinnamons, and my wife won't let me have those because she knows I eat too many of them. But the candied nuts they're available year round. So one of the biggest differences when you buy pecans from a local pecan place like me, these pecans were on the tree October 15th. I mean, they are as fresh can be. When you go and buy pecans at a grocery store, they have been frozen for a year and sometimes 2 years. There's a huge difference in a fresh pecan versus one that's been frozen. I mean, we'll sell out by January. We don't ever have pecans left over. We just don't. We'll sell out. So when you're buying pecans from us, they're fresh. I mean, they're as fresh can be. And there's a big difference in buying fresh pecans versus pecans that have been frozen. So that's one of the things that, that if you don't buy from me, you should buy from at least a local pecan dealer or farmer around your area. Go to his farm, get some of those fresh pecans. Ours are completely shelled out. There's no shells at all in this. This is actually a Kansas variety right here. We got another variety that's Pawnee right here. I'm all but out of Pawnees. So, they're both paper shell nuts, both really good, tasting good. Next year we'll have Lakotas in the mix also. They're just now starting to produce. They produced some this year. Next year I expect that to be even better. So we'll have 3 different varieties to kind of choose from throughout the website. We do a lot of candying. My wife doesn't, we outsource this candying. It's a top secret deal where the candying comes from. They do a phenomenal job. Yeah. Gift tins, like we do a lot of custom label gift tins. Like This right here is, you know, she's already got it sealed up. So there's milk chocolate, creme brulee, and cinnamon pecans in this one. But we'll do custom labeling. You can just, you know, whatever business you have. Like my wife's handing me a box. Check it out. Merry Christmas, Richard. This is a gift going out to somebody, you know, and he wanted a hat, and comes with a little note, comes with some pecans in there. It's just some of the different things we offer on the website. I'll also sign those hats. You know, we got nitro hats in there. These are exact same hats I wear. They got the Edwin Evers on the back. We'll autograph those for you. Correction in this video. It was the best thing that ever happened to me in the pecan business. Now looking back, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Now looking back, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Obviously, the best thing that ever happened to me is that woman right there. So let's just clarify that. I was talking about buying a pecan orchard. It's the best thing that happened to me, losing that quarter flip. The best thing that ever happened to me is that woman standing right there. Yeah, that's pecans. That's us. That's what we got. That's how I got in the nut business. Yep. My wife, she thinks I got good nuts. I'm getting a dirty look. And my pastor would approve that joke because he knows I'm a pecan man. That's Edwin Evers Pecans in a nutshell, if you were to say. So check it out sometime. Go to Edwin Evers Pecans, and man, I appreciate you guys listening and following along.